Welcome to a Pulp event podcast, brought to you by the PulpNet, your link to the online world of the pulp magazines, since 1996, online at thepulp.net. In this Pulp event podcast, Patrick Scott Belk, an Andrew Mallon postdoctoral fellow in digital humanities at Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, and Nathan Madison, a researcher at the American Civil War Center in Virginia, and author of the Eisner-nominated book, Anti-Foreign Imagery in American Pulps and Comics, discussed the Pulp magazine's project. It was recorded on August 14, 2015, at PulpFest 2015 in Columbus, Ohio. PulpFest committee member Mike Chomko introduces Patrick and Nathan.
Nathan Madison's down here at the end, and this is Patrick Belk. They are the gentlemen responsible for the Pulp Magazines project, which is an internet site dedicated to the preservation and dissemination of knowledge and enjoyment about pulp magazines. Is that a little bit of a summary?
Pretty fair.
All right, pretty fair. I like that. And you have what, several hundred pulps there now?
I think about 320 right now.
Okay. From all, there's U.S. pulps, British, Australian, if I remember.
British and Australian are pretty much token.
Okay.
I think there are 2 issues of British pulps and 1 Australian.
That's more than I have, so. All right. So here they are. And I think we have till 4:30. That's when everything's shutting down, but most things are about an hour.
I guess we're going to plan to talk for 30 minutes. And
Well,
then
that's great too.
Yeah.
Whatever you
If
want.
there are questions that drag it out, then that's cool.
Can we get that a little bigger? Can that, no?
Yeah.
Sorry to be a prima donna. Could we get the lights down a little bit?
That cost extra. I had an order to switch it up.
Well, okay.
If
So.
my daughter was here, you'd have everything perfect.
So let me open this up so that I know which is next. So I'm the master of just too many PowerPoint slides. I think I have 32. Won't go through all of these, but I wanted to start with this one, and I guess. Would you like to start out saying something?
You can start.
Okay.
You started it.
Well, just real quick, I wanted to start out with this one because this kind of has a lot to do with also sort of what we're doing now. So I'm a postdoctoral fellow in digital humanities at Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and I have this little lab in the library. I've got a picture of it here in the next 25 slides or something. Thank you. Is that too loud? Not loud enough. Yeah. Okay. So this sort of three-part archive here has a lot to do with sort of the stuff that we're doing now. I just wanted to point out the one on the far, your left, the Modernist Journals Project. I worked there at University of Tulsa for I was there around 2006 to 2012, I think, and then I hiked it to West Florida, and that's sort of it's kind of the first of these types of projects. It's sort of sort of high quality PDFs and other sorts of ways of delivering images and text of magazines, and more or less focused on modernist, sort of high modernist magazines, like stuff that Joyce and Virginia Woolf appeared in. And then the Pulp Magazines project, it's actually the 5th anniversary of the plan to create it. David Earl sitting in the back there. We skipped out of NEH seminar and drove 1,600 miles round trip to bring me to my first Pulp Fest, and that's when we decided to do it. And so that one's on the right there, and then the one in the middle, that's a new one from Cliff Wolfman, who built the sort of infrastructure for the Modernist Journals Project. He's at Princeton now, and that's like avant-garde art magazines, like European stuff. So that was more or less just like a nod to sort of, the kind of stuff that started it, and then, and also it sort of comes back around at the end. If I can make this work. How does that work?
I think it's pointing this way, so you turn around.
Am I trying to turn my slide?
There you go.
I think that was the wrong way. Okay, so this is another one. So we didn't pick the title, but Pulps in the Digital Age, and you always have to think about, I think long and hard about titles that you didn't choose and sort of how are you going to live up to them. So from that first one, sort of the beginnings, this is sort of kind of what's coming next. And so sort of, when you ask, about, well, what is it as a website, or is it a library, or what, it's sort of, a lot of different things. These are, one's called nines.org, the other is modnets.org. Modnets is sort of 20th century literature, 19th century literature for nines. The one in the middle is sort of the interface for Advanced Research Consortium at Texas A&M University. And it's a sort of an umbrella aggregator of these aggregators, and more or less they, using linked data, draw, so you go to the Pulp Magazines project, you can look at the magazines and stuff. They draw those sort of, into their interface, and so you can search for them. And actually, when it's, Modnets isn't actually up yet, but it will be soon. When you do that, you can choose, say I want to see British magazines. It'll just show British magazines. You can search across those. Or something I'm actually really interested in is I would just like to see, all the magazines from these three sites. So these three sites, I mean, there are a lot of holes here. There are a lot of other types of magazines, but I think these three represent a pretty, pretty complete idea of the stuff that I would like to sort of model against one another and sort of think about together. And so you have Pulp magazines, which everyone read. They were huge; they sold in the millions. Then you have these avant-garde art magazines, which might have had one issue and it sold 2 issues, and then the guy gave the rest to his brother or something. And then the Modernist Journals Project, which another sort of idea for this this project, and sort of what got me excited about it was David Earle's book, Recovering Modernism, and sort of how English departments, literature departments, sort of focusing on this one slice. I think it's some minuscule number, 0.018% of the total production of magazines at the time. The Modernist Journals Project, I adore it and everything, but it does sort of, would reinforce that sort of idea, at a time when we actually have the ability to, sort of, find those other magazines and sort of, like compare those. This is probably going to be up within the year. The Modnets, it will have other sort of nodes. I think it's up to 37 or 38 right now. Nines, 19th century, I think that's got around 172, around 138,000 different books, magazines. And you can search, it has a central search interface, and you can just sort of compare them and stuff. But Pulps in the Digital Age, that's pretty exciting. So I believe that was my sort of
Okay.
introductory.
I'm Nathan Madison. I came on board with the Pulp Magazine project, I guess a little bit after my last couple months of graduate school down in Richmond. I started a blog, Argonauts, named after the letters page of the Argosy. Every time I see Walker Martin here, he always tells me I haven't updated in like 2 years, and I'm well aware of that, Walker. Thank you. But I haven't had a chance to do that. But what I had posted on there were an article kind of cut up into several pieces about Frank Munsey, and that eventually got published in Blood and Thunder, Ed Hulse's magazine. And then I think you saw the I don't think you saw the Blood and Thunder. You saw the Argonauts post, right?
Blood and Thunder.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, anyway.
I bought it.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't met Nathan yet, but yeah, I like so I bought it.
But yeah, I got an email from Patrick asking if I wanted to contribute a history of the Argosy for the Pulp magazine project, and that went from writing that to writing a couple other histories to joining kind of the editorial board, in the sense that a lot of the emails that people write into a magazine, I go through and try to help out. We get a lot of different questions, a lot of research questions from people who are just curious about the magazines, but also people who are actually writing their own works, talking about copyrights, who wrote what story when, who owns copyrights to what images. And I try to either answer their questions to the best of my ability, or I direct them to somebody who is a little bit more knowledgeable in that particular area. Sometimes we get questions about people, from people who found the Pulp magazine in their uncle's basement and was wondering how many summer homes they can buy when they sell it. So you get a couple of speculation questions, not too many. Yeah, so I try to answer a lot of the questions that come in. One story in particular I have, as far as the emails that come into the Pulp magazine project, about a year, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, I got an email from a gentleman, and I know I'm going to mangle his name, but he's not here, so he won't yell at me. Jiří Valek, a man in the Czech Republic. And he was writing the Pulp magazine project because he simply just wanted to show his appreciation for these titles being posted. He wrote a number of really, really great letters, and I wrote an Argonos post talking about it, how he was forced to learn Russian when he was a child, but now he's trying to learn English, and a lot of the kind of classic books like Jack London and a couple other folks he felt were too complicated for him, so he started reading the stories for story's sake, but also helping him to learn English a little bit through the Pulp Magazine's project, and he was thanking us for that, and that was a really, really great discussion I had back and forth with him, and it was interesting, and this testifies maybe to the success of the project. As his letters went on, his English actually got better. So the Pulp magazines were doing a good job, but he was just talking about how much he loved John Carter and Tarzan, and how when he was younger he would get in trouble if he was found reading them, and that's not his parents getting mad at him. It's, communist jackbooted thugs coming after him for reading imperialist stuff. So he was really grateful for that, and that was one of the more interesting letters. But a lot of the questions we get, like I said, are research and copyright questions, I'd say, for the most part, and a lot of donations too. Several, like Magnolia.
Yeah, I guess that's cool to.
I guess. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
I guess I already did. Well, we. Huh? Well, yeah, we had recently. We had, if anybody's familiar with the creator of Hellboy, Mike Mignola, he sent the Pulp Magazine project a collection of weird tales that we were gonna get digitized and put up, and that was really really nice of him. We appreciate that.
So I just realized we had a little awkward moment because I wasn't sure if I don't think we had talked. So we got this mystery box, and I open it up, and it's just first issue of Strange Tales, really rough shape but complete, and other than that, mostly Weird Tales magazine. The address on the box, I sort of Googled it. It looked familiar, so it was Mike Mignola, and we had this long sort of, wanted to tell people about it, but you sort of have to respect people's privacy if they don't want people to know, or just don't want to have anything to do with it. I think the night before last, I found the email from back in April that his wife actually emailed me and asked for my address, which I'd completely just forgotten about. So
Right.
We weren't sure whether,
So is it okay if I said that? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, it's out there anyway, so. Thanks.
My turn.
Yeah.
Did we start at 3? So we started at 3, right?
Yeah. Like 306.
So yeah, this is every time. I think we're on slide 3 out of 32. We won't look at all of them. But a couple of things. So this is, I found this. It's cutting off the top. I was looking through my sort of folder of sort of like more memorabilia than anything else. And this is a screenshot of the original page, which is it's really just it's terrible. It looks like almost drawn in crayon or something. And the sort of quote there, I like that quote. I mean, I could be embarrassed about that or something. It's like sort of full of this like sort of cocksure, we're going to change literary study in the 20th century. That's really funny. But I like it, and especially I like it next to this photo of my terrible HTML skills at the time. So we had no idea what we were doing, and but we were going to change everything. It's pretty funny. So pretty much for the first 5 years, and I say 2010. That's more or less when the idea got started. The actual site launched in 2011. Actually, right before I came to the second PulpFest. So again, it's kind of cool that this is the 5-year anniversary now. But more or less, the first version of the site, it sort of centered on this archive. You'd go click on one of the titles. There's 64 titles. Choose one of the magazines there. Pretty, kind of, I don't know. It's as complete as I can afford to make it, and you would have sort of page images, PDFs, or these flipbook things, and none of it was searchable. You couldn't actually, there wasn't a search bar to find anything. It was just page images, and then there was this sort of context page that had some neat stuff on it, but more or less just a static website that you had to go and find it. You had to know what you were looking for, or just explore pages and pages to find things, and so it's pretty much if you. I think for the most part, people would just go and download the PDFs and read them later. So it was more or less a sort of a hosting for here's a bunch of material, like go home and read it or something. But again, we sort of people liked it and sort of were happy that you'd be surprised, or maybe most people just sort of think they know. And I guess I did too. It was sort of pirates and naked girls. That's what's in pulp magazines, and that's sort of the general conception. Probably something to do with the Pulp Fiction magazine movie, but it's sort of served its purpose. It got on a couple of. I'm always looking for this stuff because I'm always interested in how people are using it. Make sure I can read that. These are just two of them. A couple of classes at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, I think, yeah, and then Rutgers University. There were a couple, here and there, other places, but sort of, people are using it. They're sort of, and these are both descriptions of courses, and then there's like a whole syllabi, and they use the magazines, and I think the bottom one there used Amazing Stories, and it's still sort of. I guess the idea was if you read them, it would be difficult to say these things that people just sort of assumed. Modernist literature is stylistically more complex, something like that. People just naturally take that for granted, and just sort of in the language, so how it's being used. It's still being used sort of as an inferior brother or something. It's like, oh, and also here's some context, some crappy literature. I appreciate that people were using it. It was great, but it still wasn't really getting sort of the point across that I was hoping it would. And I guess with a project like this, you don't really want to frame it for people. Give them, here's the magazines, here's how to think about it. You sort of let them, obviously don't want to force your opinion, but it was still a little frustrating. The bottom one here, and I'm not complaining. Actually, I'm a friend of Andrew's, and he's a great guy. But the problem one here, I believe it was the first 2 issues of Amazing Stories that he was including in his class, and to sort of I mean, out of all the pulp magazines, if you're going to say that those are, you know, like not literature or something, and then you look at them, it's like, well, it's Jules Verne and H.G. Wells and Edgar Allan Poe. Who doesn't consider that literature? So it's, you know, still, even if the idea is to, I don't know, contest those ideas, you're still sort of presenting it as, here's, you know, sort of reinforcing stereotypes that the whole idea was to sort of get people away from that. One of Kurt's students, I suppose, Scott, probably, so PhD dissertation, 2014, Jason. I was seeing Scott Carney. Jason's dissertation here. Here's the first paragraph, and you know, it's still sort of, I mean, it's, you know, it's in support of kind of the whole idea, but it's still falling into that trap of comparing it to, you know, modernist is this, popular is, you know, that other thing. That's always, you know, opposite of it. Formal experimentation, technical innovation. This is actually a neat one. So talking about weird tales, what is it, Anthony Rudd's Ooze. So you can find the full text on, I think it's archive.org. And this sort of transitions into the next part. So you can find that text on archive.org, like the full text, plain text. And a colleague of mine, Matt Coaches, we were given the chance in, 2011 to digitize I think the third printing of, or the number 3 of the first printing of James Joyce's Ulysses, which appeared in, let me check, Little Review. I knew it was up there. Little Review, and actually a little bit earlier, but officially published in 1922. And so you can find those two texts, and you can actually, you know, you can sort of test that out. Like, well, are issues of weird tales as, you know, technical, complex, innovative, experimental as something like James Joyce's Ulysses, which is sort of the typical great experimental novel of the 20th century. And so it sort of goes into this like next part of mine, but I thought I would pause the dry talk and
well, I would just say, talking about how it's kind of, how the idea is to kind of challenge preconceptions of the pulp magazines. I'd say some of the questions we've gotten in the emails have been from folks here and in other countries who are writing academic works about the pulp magazines, and who are asking questions about, like I said, further resources and again, just showing their appreciation. But outside of even academia, I've had a number of folks. I've been to a couple of conventions down south, particularly in Richmond, where I've put out flyers or had ads for the Pulp Magazines Project in their programs. And a lot of people have written in or talked to me when I've seen them and said that, you know, I didn't really understand. I really had no idea what Pulp Magazines was. I just considered it was probably sleazy, you know, something or another. And I think it's kind of challenged how people conceive it, both academically but also in the general scope of things. I know a number of people who, actually I've had a number of people who tell me the first thing they like is that when you turn the page, it does that little sound. Like, it's like, okay, if that's what you come away with it from, great. But in addition to that, though, they're actually going through these magazines and saying, like, I didn't realize the term pulp magazine could mean something that had so many genres as action, adventure, romance, science fiction, etc. So I'd say, like I said, in both of those spheres, I think it's done pretty good. Sure.
more dry time. So as part of my position at Dickinson, I have this lab. I call it a lab because I like to think I'm a scientist. But it's more or less just a room, but it's got four computers, a couple of different kinds of software, pretty cool software. And I have student interns who are undergrads come and more or less what it boils down to is we're just sitting there reading pulp magazines, and they get paid for it, and I get paid for it, and so it's pretty nice. And the sort of the thing that we're doing, we're pretty much taking plain text and using XML tags, like structuring, like this is a header, this is a author's name, putting little brackets around it. It's a machine readable language, so you can run it through a computer and it sort of knows, okay, that's that and that's that. And this is the search interface. So it's a little bit out of order, but I wanted to have it next to this one so that, because we didn't have an internet connection. If you go up to, does this have a, well, okay. Go up here, that blue one there, and click on that. It'll take you to this page. This is still being developed. It's a PHP script, so you put in your search term, punch the button, it goes and looks for it. It's pretty primitive. I'm an English major, so for most English majors, it's pretty fancy. But anyone who actually does this stuff would say it was just silly. But it works more or less. If you, because we were in Columbus, I searched for Columbus and took a picture. If you search, it will show you the first 50 words and the second 50 words on either side of it. There are actually only 22 magazines in it now because over the first part of the summer, we completed, 22 and 8 before. So it's still kind of just beginning. But out of that 22, out of those 22 magazines, I believe there's something like, I've got a figure here somewhere. Now there are 1.6 million words, and I think 619 items, including I think 30 something advertisements. This is actually this is what it will look like when it's finished. The other thing, so you can search that way, and then if you see the, I'll walk over there again, but below the two search boxes, if you see that, it's a little gray button there. If you click on that, it'll take you to this page that looks like this, and this is pretty much kind of it's a little bit experimental. I've never really seen anything like it, but it sort of fits into the whole kind of plan. I mean, it's sort of different stuff. Whole idea is sort of take it from that sort of context that we recognize. Oh yeah, that's like pirates and naked women, and to put it in a different context and sort of look at it differently, so that it's not sort of encouraging sort of preconceptions. So this little search bar, which I won't talk about, the silver thing there, you can go to it. More or less that loads all of the text into another site called Taper, and you sort of like do frequency analyses and stuff like that. But it looks like this. So this is the sort of the when you first enter it, and you can do a lot of things here. Mainly, this is just to sort of show like kind of the workflow here. So you go there, go there, go there, go there. This sort of network analysis is sort of takes into like people, places, things, I believe. You can do a lot of stuff with it. If you'll notice, each of those pages. So this is more or less the table of contents. So you can just look at all the tables of contents together. You can click on stories. It'll take you directly to that story, and you can click on the network graph that I was showing earlier, or going the wrong way, or go directly to the magazine. So these are just HTML versions. The way it looks, it's kind of arbitrary. We actually started out, we wanted it sort of loud colors so that we could identify stuff, because we're sort of building it and we have to be able to see like, okay, that's wrong. Whenever you mark up a title, mark up an author's name, mark up a page number, paragraph, whatever, and you just sort of look at it, it just looks like text. There's nothing there. But then with a style sheet, you can sort of turn it into colors, and so you're telling the browser, hey, this is an author, make it a big brown box. So you can actually, it'll sort of show you the stuff. Another thing, each of these it's broken up into pages, and you can click on the view facsimile, and it'll show you the page image there. And this is just kind of some views of the program that we're doing. This is the more or less just reading Pulp magazines. We sort of loaded into these. This is a Railroad Man's, I believe from 1911. Loaded in there, and that's what it looks like. It's just plain text, and then we start putting marks around it. A lot of this is automated, not by machines, but we sort of can take it and can actually identify patterns. So whenever page number and the title of the magazine are in the corner, that's going to be page break, stuff like that. And so it's not as much typing as it looks. Here are the pages. This is a black mask. So you have the text over there, and we sort of do it. We have two screens, and so you have the image, then you have the text, and you sort of kind of compare and can make sure that it's sort of more or less the same. That's after the HTML, and these also you can just sort of do things with them. These are just kind of things we're playing with, different ways of doing it. Once you have things marked up in XML, you can more or less just say or write on the CSS, change anything, and so whenever you bring up whatever, it will, so you don't have to change each individual page. You can just sort of do it all in that one style sheet. So it ends up we play around a lot because it's easy to fix it. The mod nets. What are you doing on time? 39. Real quick. So the mod nets. This is a sort of a really exciting part of this, and it's also based on like an XML language, but it's a rich descriptive framework, I think. It's like a linked data semantic web type of model, and you more or less you tell the site, okay, when you come to the site, here's where the black mask is, here's where the amazing stories is, and it'll find those. And so when you have, I don't have that picture. So when you have this central sort of search interface, you can look through, I don't know, anything written in the 20th century. I want to find where something is mentioned, and it'll show you sort of all of those, regardless of whether it's a pulp magazine or some hoity-toity modernist magazine or sort of a workers' trade journal or something like that. It'll just sort of show you the searches, and so it sort of kind of takes you away from the sort of identifying markers of, oh yeah, I'm supposed to read this differently, and sort of jumbles it up a little bit, but in a way that you can actually sort of see it, but not see it clearly, I guess. It might be the last one. So I actually made it through all 32.
Okay,
pretty quick.
Well, yeah, like I said, I left most of the technical information to Patrick since he's the one that does all that. I'm more of the, I wouldn't say public face, but like I said, most of the contacts we get usually come through me. So if anybody has emailed the Pulp Magazines project, I'm probably the one that responds to you.
Real quick, not jokingly, but so I mean we're not that big of a deal, but I jokingly refer to him as the communications officer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take that. Sure.
Not officially.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a title. I'm the communications officer. And as an aside to that, when I first kind of signed on and got the emails going and everything, I thought my email would show up as, I think it's like info@pulpmags. So I just used my Gmail address, which was named for a 1940s superhero, Professor Supermind. I didn't realize that would show up when people would write and write back. So I
It's
realized.
funny because they're asking questions and so
Yeah.
Professor Superman.
And I know I sound like a pompous ass when I'm responding.
and it's supposed to be a serious academic site.
Yeah, so I'm going to change that.
Oh no, I think that's
But
better.
I was going to say when the gentleman from the Czech Republic emailed us, he said like, "Oh, Professor," I'm like, "No, that's not. I'm really not Professor Supermind, in case you were wondering." So, but yeah, like I said, as far as public face goes, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from conventions I've gone to, people I know who have, like I said, in academic circles, I know some folks at VCU who are using it in the English department who are talking to me about maybe using it in some of their studies and everything, their classes. So on the academic side, I think it's done really well, and certainly in the non-academic side, people just learning more about the Pulp magazines. I think it's been great, and glad to have been part of it.
I guess. Yeah. Mute. Question.
So are you limited only to public domain materials, or are you able to go to some copyrighted stuff as well?
We have been in contact with 4 people. If you go to the site, anything that has, there's a sort of, what does it say? There's a little copyright notice
the
at the bottom, and it
disclaimer, right.
says, thanks to someone, and it'll give credit to them. I think of all the people that I've asked, only one person hasn't emailed me back. And I don't expect him to. That was like years ago.
Oh, okay.
But for the most part, I think,
And the
there was one sort of rough patch, but for the most part,
but they got clear. I mean, that
people
was
were cool about
that's
it.
fine now. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have organizational or institutional backing so that this thing has become permanent? I've used the Pulp Magazine project. I love it. And I keep thinking, wow, if they could just get more stuff, that'd be wonderful.
that was sort of part of it. Sort of that, I don't, which is why I like the Professor Supermind. I sort of like that kind of looking at it and sort of realizing we sort of thought it would be, I don't know, it would sort of change everything, and someone would offer you a bunch of money and
I'll change the name. I
not
promise.
to sell it, but to like host it. It's actually not hosted yet. I just sort of thought that would happen. It's I don't know. It's sort of such a no-brainer, but it is permanent though. I've told people. I mean, it's if I get hit by a car, probably be a little problem there, but
For you, yeah.
So
the
wait a minute, you're the owner or your university is the owner?
no, it's mine. It's not on their server. It's not on. They more or less pay me to. I could be doing anything as long as I do the as long as I have a project to work sort of thing. So it's really not connected to Dickinson at all. But no, I've joked before I would not pay rent and not eat if I had to in order to keep it up there.
Hasn't happened yet.
Not yet, yeah.
Thank you.
Have you thought about using the text that you're gathering to do textual analysis? I know, like with the
Sure.
Federalist Papers, they were able to determine, which were John Jay and that sort of thing. There are a lot of house names that people aren't certain who was behind them.
Well, so that's not.
I think he shut it off.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was going to show you. So, yeah, we have, and we're doing a lot of that stuff. That's the one I thought there was a slide up there, but there's not. So, you're talking about like author attribution stuff. There's actually a computer science professor that I'm talking to, and we're going to be working next semester. So before I ever got there, he taught. He does these labs, and he has his students sort of do. It seems like it'd take more than an hour, but I guess if you're a computer science major, it will take you an hour. He has his students come in and they write their own. You can buy pre-coded sort of software things, but he just has his students write their own author attribution software. I'm more or less familiar with the way it works, but again, I'm not like a computer scientist or anything. But that stuff is pretty fun. We actually use that to look at stylistic sort of things, not necessarily author attribution stuff. But, I mean, for example, Henry Kuttner is a really weird writer. He's sort of, all over the place. But if you take, and it's, I sort of knowing he's sort of most associated with Weird Tales, but then, he's in sort of, other, he's kind of all over the place. If you run it through, then it, sort of do things like identify that he's most like Weird Tales. Most of his stuff is sort of generally Weird Tales-ish. The other one is like topic modeling. It'll find like co-occurring words, stuff that occurs together more often than would be sort of insignificant or just chance. All right. So yeah, this is one of them. This Voyant interface, it does sort of the same things. This is more for people to just sort of go and play around and sort of look for stuff and search. We have like our own sort of software on like secure server, or not secure, but like server environments that aren't possibly, just some other material on there or something. And we play around a lot with that. With the 320 magazines, over 30 million words. A lot of it's like garbled though. A lot of it's sort of dirty. So it kind of throws things off. But the ones that are up there now, the 22 magazines that we have finished, and I have 8 more they'll be uploading, hopefully by the end of the summer. Those are completely clean, and so I mean you can just sort of do sort of all the way across, and so that and also like network, like sort of graphing, like people's names who appear together, and like publishers. Who's this publisher? Could like sort of what is the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon thing with Frank Munsey, by the way, is in the middle all the time.
We got 5 minutes, so if there's any other questions. Oh, hey.
Are you scanning these in as text files or images?
Well, so
If I want to see the page as it appeared, can I see it? Or am
Yeah.
I going to see a text file?
well, all of them. So I mean, the idea is to make it available in as many different formats as possible. So originally it was, how far back? Well, originally it was a PDF, flipbook, the Flash thing, which there was a question about. I think someone immediately after I did it said that the noise effect was really just kind of too much, just real.
Really?
Real,
Okay, well,
I think they
different
called
people.
it cheesy or something. But then, and I wasn't really sure about it. I kind of liked it, but I wasn't sure. But then so many people liked it, I was like, it's there to stay. So the flipbooks, the PDFs, and now there are HTML pages, and always these are the favorites. I mean, people want to see the actual magazine. So this is the flipbook thing. So you can see them.
Is this destructive scanning when you scan a magazine? Does it
No.
destroy the magazine, or do you have the full page scanner?
No, I built my own so that it wouldn't harm the magazine.
Yeah, do you have a picture of that contraption?
It
'Cause
should.
that's-
I mean, it should be there.
That's a pretty cool lab, by the way.
So there's
Now, how long does it take
What
to
is it
scan
called?
one magazine?
It's been a long time since I scanned the magazine myself. So there was a lot of stuff that I sort of thought should probably say something about. And this is one of them. I think about 6 months after it started, I mean, I never would have got up to 600 or 320 magazines. About 6 months after it started, I was contacted by what I guess is their peer-to-peer like Pulp scans, ScanRust, like just sort of guys spread around the world. And they're like, hey, it's cool what you're doing. We've got all these like scans, and do you want them? And theirs were so much better than mine. I mean, if we could see, I would show you. I think the very first one I did, terrible. Again, you can sort of like tell by that homepage. I really just wanted to do it. I had no idea how to do it. But No, I don't destroy my magazines. Yeah, I take great pains to. There's cushions for them and everything.
I just wanted to endorse the idea of actual page reproduction as opposed to just sucking the text out of it. It's more charming.
Right.
You see the layout of it. You see the illustrations
Right.
too. The original illustrations are wonderful.
And even the advertisements too. Like, I've had a couple people mention that they like seeing the old advertisements in addition to the stories themselves. You know.
Well, I mean, different formats are useful for different things. But sure, I mean the page image. I mean that's how it started. It was always you had to have the page image. Sort of not. I was actually thinking about Google Books on the way here this morning. I was thinking about what was it? Google Books is like a vampire. It just left the scene of the crime. It's like it left this desiccated carcass of a book that's like where you sucked all its color out. But yeah, I feel the same way.
Is there anything that you would like to be doing for the project or with the project or to develop the project further that you're not doing now or that you wish you could be doing more quickly?
I mean, I wish there could be more. Yeah. I wish that more magazines, yeah. The obvious hole is like sports pulps. There are no sports pulps. That's kind of the one that always sort of throws me off. I mean, there are other holes too, but that's like the big one. But in answer to your question, for me to scan a magazine is probably, I think I could do it probably 7 hours, but that's one magazine. And that's from start to finish. I used to time myself just to
You have
sort of.
interns or grad students, there's a way to get extra credit.
Yeah, see, I mean that's. It's not that I don't trust my students. It's I'm sort of one of those that I buy 2 comics and I put one in a bag, never touch it. So I don't think I would let. I mean, I actually don't like touching my own magazine, so yeah, no, I sort of, I'm holding out that it will last forever, as long as no one touches it.
There's an informal project to scan entire runs of pulp magazines. So far, they've completed Astounding Stories, Fantastic Stories, and Famous Fantastic Mysteries.
Uh-huh.
Right now, they're working on Weird Tales. So maybe, I could put you in touch with those guys.
Who is
They're
that?
obviously, gone crazy with scanning.
Uh-huh. Who?
No, they're doing it as CBR files, which is
Okay.
comic book reader files,
Yeah.
which you can convert to a PDF.
Yeah,
PDF.
I mean, some of them, there's a little, I think on the About page and also on the Contact page, there's a little, maybe the 3rd paragraph down, it lists all the people and like CBR files. I mean, anyone who's into comic books, that's going to be it. But I mean, they send stuff like that. That's fine.
One more question?
Hmm?
No, anybody? One more question?
I have like 10 more questions, but I'll just. It seems like at this point your project is focused mostly on English language pulp, but it seems like you've gotten a lot of interest from abroad as well.
Right.
Are
I've actually had people send magazines, and I don't know what to do with them.
Like foreign language.
French magazines, and there's some Spanish magazines, and I kind of, they don't. I mean, whenever I said the British pulps, it's sort of. I mean, I have some of those like early. Actually, I have the 2nd issue of Hutchinson's, and that's enough, the same. But some. At least the French one, that's sort of getting into, well, if I just sent you a 1963 paperback with a naked girl on it, here's a pulp magazine, and it's like, well, I don't really, that doesn't look like. Because I have no context for that, I don't know where to place that. But.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering if, I mean, I don't know anything about pulp culture or publications in other countries. I mean, I've seen a few publications from like maybe like Japan from like 1900 through 1930s or something like that, and they're quite different than what we would consider pulp. But I was wondering if there might be pulp traditions in European countries like Spain, France, Germany, Netherlands, or further afield, Turkey, something like that you guys might be aware of.
I mean, the only thing I know is fairly recently I've been reading up on for a talk I'm actually giving at the anime convention that's being hosted here tomorrow about about Lovecraft appearing in anime, his influence in anime and manga and everything. And there were his stories started being reprinted, or rather translated and printed in Japanese science fiction magazines in the 1940s. So I've been looking into that. I don't know if that's anything, but they're definitely out there.
I mean, my first thought was probably a consequence of just being like an English major, sort of kind of trained to not look at other languages and other cultures. But I mean, some that I'm really interested in, and actually a couple of years ago I bought a bunch of them and they never arrived, which I just now thought of that. I didn't pay very much for them, but Street and Smith had, and I actually collect, whenever I come across on the internet, anything that's a sports story magazine with a Australian price tag on it. I collect those, but mostly it's just foreign editions of American publishers. Street and Smith, particularly, there are a lot of those. I have pictures of newsstands too. I collect newsstands and I blow them up and I look like what month is that. And I found some really good stuff. I found Fight magazine in London, and I have newsstand photos from 1920s, 1930s, 1940s from Greece, Egypt, English-speaking countries, Paris, and you can see that June 1928 issue of Wonder Stories up in the corner if you blow it up, and so I mean they were out there. I'm sure other countries had theirs, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, other than, like I said, the kind of the Japanese versions I've been looking at recently. But I have seen, I want to say that Muncie had a publishing arm in France for his newspapers, but I also think some of his magazines were published in original French language over there, too. And those might exist. I don't know.
So I don't think you can, I don't know about, well, it just shows that first one. So these tables of contents, they have the addresses. Like we were collecting all the addresses. That's something else I'm really interested in. And I think Muncie has a London and a Paris address on all of them. And at one point, I mean, I'm always like really fascinated by those. Well, so for a couple of years, he then has an office somewhere else, but then he doesn't anymore. Like he disappeared. So I guess that didn't work out for him. I'm thinking it was like Amsterdam or something, but some other place that it's like a blip and then it goes away.
At least for science fiction, Mike Ashley's History of the Science Fiction magazine includes other countries and goes through their magazines. I know Sweden and Germany both were fairly active in science fiction magazines early on.
He's actually the first person I contacted, because something like this you sort of need a like advisory board. I'm a huge fan of Mike Ashley, and I have that book. And my class at Dickinson is science fiction, early science fiction in the magazines, and that's the one textbook. And then the rest are the magazines on the site. But yeah, he's actually the reason why I did that. Whenever I said the British pulps, because in British British fiction magazine, the big book, the British Library book, British fiction magazines. He refers to Hutchinson's as a pulp, but then when we were talking, he said, "No, that's not a pulp," and you don't correct Mike Ashley. So I was always wondering, well, is it, or like you said it was? I understand now that I sort of what he means, but I mean Swedish and stuff, and I mean, that'd be interesting. One thing about that, the OCR stuff, like other languages, it just like yeah, it like blips.
The dealer's room's open for another half an hour, and to let you know that programming starts again at 7. And I am sure you'll be willing to answer more questions afterwards over, but I appreciate everybody coming in, and I hate doing that, but I've got to get the door locked.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And
Thank you.
You've been listening to a Pulp event podcast, brought to you by the Pulp Net. When your next adventure was just a dime away. Please visit us online at thepulp.net. Thank you for listening, and keep reading the Pulps.